Turn it over to YouTube. Damn, sorry. I was refreshing my other page and they had a concert preview premiere like for tickets on sale, and I already looked at the prices and they want like $500 for two people to go for just standing room only. I was like, oh hell no. I don't like the band that much.
No, that's tough. $500 for 2 tickets. No, man, you better have some solid.
It's just,
seats
I
for
mean,
that.
it is a decent venue. I will say that, but I mean, I don't know I'm not like a fan of the band that much to spend that type of money. I was like another concert in May with meet and greet, photo and everything, and it's like 400 for two, and VIP everything. And I'm like, that's a lot more reasonable. Yeah.
Oh, that's valid.
What is going on, everyone? Now that we're off the concert talk, yeah. Shut up, Tony. What is going on? And welcome into the Voice of College Football's Oregon show here every week, right here. The Oregon Ducks Live, number 41. We're going places. Going places. Those numbers are starting to get high. When they get into 3 digits, I think I'll stop even bothering. I don't even think I'll worry about it. How you doing tonight, Derek?
Good, man. Good. It's been a pretty quiet week so far, so had to jump on the podcast tonight and switch that up a little bit. Even though we're missing our boy Spaz, so it's definitely a little more quiet than usual.
Don't say his name more than one time, or he'll magically appear. Don't do it. Do not summon him. It's gonna be a quiet, peaceful, slightly more sober night tonight.
Yeah, barely.
And we are going to take a poll later. We talked about beforehand. I kind of thought over it literally for like 10 seconds. I'm like, you know what? We will take a poll at the end of the show here. So stick around for the poll as to what happened to one of our hosts. And we'll let you decide. And the best answer wins. Nothing except for our laughing and enjoyment and tears.
Our beautiful smiling faces.
Yeah. Yeah, Derek, go ahead and I mean, it's already on the screen, but go ahead and tell people where they can stalk you online if they so choose to.
Yeah, as always, if you're interested in dealing with my shenanigans on social media, you can catch me at High Top Oregon. Just getting the Twitter page up and running here, so I've been pretty active on there. Yeah, so give me a follow per usual. Like to keep everybody up to date with the happenings in the duck world.
Yeah. And you can find me here on YouTube at Exploring with Ben and Sam. And all my other stuff is linked through there. And then Sunday nights for the After Dark show on the main channel for the Voice of College Football. If you don't know where to find me by now, I don't know what the hell you're doing with your life. I am Mark's whore. I am everywhere. Yeah, tell Mark I said it. He'll be like, yeah, that figures. I'm not surprised. I don't care.
Call it like you see it, man. That's valid.
It is what it is. Spaz is not here. I was gonna breaking news from Spat. He's not here. I think really, yeah. Oregon has been very quiet, which is good. That's how an off season should be. The only thing we should be hearing from Oregon during the off season is early commits from another year, or you're going to hear terrible news like injuries or off-campus shenanigans with players. Those are usually about the only things right now that you're going to hear, and luckily we don't hear any of those. So that's always good. So the big news of the week, really, maybe 8-9 days was. I mean, you could argue if it's shocking. I guess it's not. It's not shocking, but it's kind of surprising. Was, of course, Chip Kelly looking at NFL teams, of course, wanting to get back in the NFL. I assumed it's probably an OC. Instead, he ends up at Ohio State. That's a little surprising. You go from a Power 5 head coaching job on a Big Ten team now to be the OC at another Big Ten school. Kind of. I mean, that is a little. So it is a little surprising.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit, but at the same time, like I know Tony had a comment earlier, and he like just referred to like the whole NIL and the recruiting and all the BS that becomes with being a college football head coach. And damn well Chip Kelly, he's been out of that game for a minute now. I don't think he has any interest in recruiting, let alone dealing with NIL and everything kind of surrounding that. Just to kind of take a look at where UCLA's class currently sits. Spoiler alert, it's awful. I think it's sitting dead last in the Big Ten. Not good stuff.
Ooh.
So I'm good for
Chip.
You're
behind if you're behind Northwestern and Rutgers. No offense to Northwestern or Rutgers, but damn UCLA.
I'm thinking like Illinois, Purdue, like these are far from teams who are typically like recruiting powerhouses by any metric. So yeah, it tells you they're in a bad spot in a bad way, but good for Chip. He wanted to get away from that. So definitely heading in the right direction, going to an elite program where he's going to have the opportunity to win without having to deal with, quite the amount of stuff he did at UCLA. Should have the booster support, unlike at UCLA. So it's a good move for Chip.
Yeah, no, I mean, I do. I 100% agree with that. I think there was multiple things that had to fall into place. That's why it took so long for it to happen or to hear it official, is that there was a lot of, I don't even want to say drama, but there was a lot of inner working between Ryan Day, Chip Kelly, and the administration and stuff to go, hey, doggy.
Yeah, my boy's with me tonight.
And he's like, yay. There was a lot of inner workings that had to go on. I'm sure a lot of struggles, little, I'm the man. No, I'm the man. No, I'm fine. Fine. You can, you're the man. Okay, whatever. I mean, Chip Kelly, it's not like, he's never been a head coach. He's been an NFL head coach. And even at UCLA, a relatively successful head coach, even at UCLA, let alone Oregon, but also being an NFL head coach. Ryan Day has not been an NFL head coach or anything like that. So it's like Chip Kelly could kind of have his leverage in demands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, just mind you, like we're even talking 1 year ago, the 22 season. If you remember, Bo Nix and the Ducks wearing their black and pink jerseys. UCLA was a top 10 team at that point when they had beaten them. So it's like, clearly they haven't had a solid recruiting base in quite some time. So Chip Kelly really has done more with less. So now he has the opportunity to have an elite offense, elite playmakers, all around him, kind of dictating that offense. And he's always been a great X and O coach, so I don't think there's any really downside for him. Like I said, I think he's going to be successful there. It's never been the schematics for Chip that's been the issue. It's been everything else. And now he can kind of hand that off to Ryan Day and say, you go do that. I'll worry about the functionality of the offense and let it be.
Well, UCLA obviously was not exactly the most invested and supportive administration, I don't think, in the sense of the football program. I mean, every year their stadium seemed to shrink with tarps more and more. But, taking a step down, obviously the pay had to be pretty good. I'm sure that was one. I mean, Chip's got money. That really matters to him. He's fine. But when it comes to exactly, he only has to now recruit offense. That's it. He just has to evaluate the offensive players and tell Ryan Day, I want that guy. Then Ryan Day has to do a lot of the work. Chip doesn't even have to. Plus, Chip maybe he's looking at hey, and Ryan Day might leave in 1 or 2 years, and then I'll get the head coaching job at OSU.
Now, wouldn't that be interesting?
I mean,
but I don't know. I don't even know if that would happen then, because then if you really think about it, what's happening is you're putting significantly more pressure, especially from the Ohio State boosters. We know they live and die football. So to put him back in that position where he's going to have to deal with the NIL, to deal with the recruiting once again, it's like, I don't know. I could see him being very content.
But a couple of years of a high flying offense again, where he's just dealing with offense, maybe that reboots and refreshes him. Plus the Ohio State brand, where he's like, it recruits itself. I don't have to do as much. it's an interesting scenario what his mindset is, because I mean, again, to step down from a Power 5 job in one conference to go to another as a OC is a big move. I mean, like I said, the struggle fest between them probably was Ryan Day going, "Hey, I'm having input on the offense," and Chip Kelly going, "Shut the hell up, Ryan. I got this." And they probably had a battle, and where Chip finally said, "If I don't call the plays, I ain't taking the job."
Yeah, could absolutely see it. I think at the end of the day, Ohio State and the university as a whole probably understood this was the best move for their program. I mean, you're giving Chip Kelly the keys to your offense, which you could argue is a top 3 offense in the country heading into next year. I mean, just
could
deep.
Be,
the running back room, deep. The quarterback room, albeit somewhat inexperienced behind, their starter, deep. The wide receiving core, as always, is just – it's been phenomenal for the last 10, 15 years, and it's no different this year. So I'm aside from October 12th, I'm very interested to see what he's able to do with that offense.
Well, I mean, look what they did this last year, and that quarterback left. Mm-hmm. But if they didn't have Marvin Harrison, I mean, he still had other options to throw to, but I mean, that was most of his passing yards was Marvin Harrison. So look what Chip did at UCLA this last year with 3 different quarterbacks, and the third string was the most productive. Garbers, just put him in good situations, I mean,
yeah, they're gonna put up points. That's no secret. When you have that type of talent, their offensive line it's going to be stacked again. They have a great defense. Like Chip has a legitimate shot to go win a national title this year, doing less than he had to do at UCLA.
Yeah, and that could be his ultimate goal: is hey, one good year at UCLA, and then take a OC job in the NFL. Maybe that's his thought process, his goal. Who knows? We'll never know. But I mean, there was, I'm sure, a back and forth about the play calling, because people have been, screaming for Ryan Day to give up play calling for a couple of years. Let someone else deal with it. You just coach.
Oh, yeah, and I think if they're bringing in Chip Kelly, we know who's calling the plays 100%. I mean, it only makes sense to me. I think it would be a great disservice to bring in a guy like Chip Kelly and what he does schematically and then not utilize him to the full potential. It just wouldn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is not the Chip Kelly of Oregon, where the new flash offense and, catch everyone off guard and even high flying up tempo, whatever, like that. But he still knows how to, outmaneuver and outflank the other team. He still knows how to do that. So,
yeah,
with that type of talent,
that's not going away anytime soon.
Downer note, then. That brings us to UCLA. What is UCLA doing now? Because we were going to talk coaching candidates, but then UCLA announced that they simply promoted Deshaun Foster as their new head coach, which, I mean, it makes sense. He was already on the staff. Why not? And he's a UCLA running back legend. So it makes sense.
Yeah, I think the biggest benefit, for obvious reasons, is he's going to have respect in the locker room right away. With what guys he does have left, and the ones that they were able, the 4 or 5 of them they were able to bring in that are going to be substantial to the program at some point. Like, he's able to keep those guys and kind of have that respect and carry on what they had going. But at the same time, it's a gamble, to say the least, just because we know this type of support that UCLA gives their coaches. I mean, it's been made very evident over the last 5 years in particular. I don't want to say he's set up for failure, but I would be shocked if he's the head coach at UCLA in like 3 to 4 years still.
Well, I mean, and he has no head coaching experience. That itself is a huge, I mean, and I'm not sitting here acting like I knew who the hell Deshaun Foster was. With all due respect to Deshaun Foster and all the football gurus out there, I actually had to Google him to be like, who is this guy exactly? So he was a running back at UCLA in up till 2001, I believe it was. That's when he went to the NFL. He played like 7 or 8 seasons in the NFL. Then he was uh, a volunteer assistant coach as well as a grad assistant under Jim Mora at UCLA in 2012, 2013, and 20 up till through 2015. Then 2016 went Texas Tech. Then he came back in 2017 under Mora again, and then Chip Kelly has kept him on there since and made him the running back coach because he obviously was the running back. But he's been nowhere near like a coordinator or a head coach. So that's quite a step up from a position coach to the head coach. That's quite a leap.
Well, yeah, and it's like typically if you're trying to bring in somebody who's a first-time head coach, like don't get us wrong, Dan Lanning was a first-time head coach just last year, but it's like typically when that happens, you surround yourself with high-quality coordinators, people who've been around for a long time, and it's just I don't know if that's going to happen at UCLA. I don't think that's a hotbed for coaching interest currently for obvious reasons. Like if you're a coach and you have the opportunity to go multiple places, what exactly is enticing about UCLA at this point? When you have no support from the boosters, when the university athletics is not a priority currently, what are you going there for? It's going to be short lived. I don't know. They're in a tough spot as a university in the whole. They're in a very tough spot.
I think, one of our topics was just going to be UCLA's in for a couple rough years, probably. And that was with Chip Kelly. I think it's going to get worse. Now, Deshaun Foster could surprise all of us, but that's a big leap going from running back coach to head coach. You're not going OC or DC to head coach where you've been around for 10, 15 years and multiple stops, learned a lot, maybe connect. But he has his name, at least in recognition through UCLA, so that could be to his benefit. But I think it's going to be a rough couple years for UCLA.
Yeah, and the pinned comment brings up a good point. There's not. You knew you weren't going to have a whole lot of coaching interest, so you might as well give it to somebody who knows the program, knows the ins and outs of who's in that locker room, has that respect currently, and if they're willing to be motivated to give it a shot, what do you have to lose at this point? You're not paying them a crazy amount. If you wanted to bring in like a bigger name head coach, you're dropping the bag on him. They're not going to do that with Deshaun Foster. It doesn't make sense. So, from the university standpoint, it makes sense. It's just a matter of how that translates to winning. And I think if that happens, it's going to take a while. I don't know if that's going to happen though.
Yeah, I don't know what Chip was getting paid. I'm gonna guess somewhere in the $6-7 million range at UCLA. And Deshaun Foster's probably around maybe 3, probably half that at best.
That would make sense.
I'm gonna guess.
Yeah, that would make sense. UCLA, they're sitting in a tough way right now. It's gonna be like this for a while. Their 25 class probably not going to be much better. In reality, it's the 24 season in general.
The 24 season is a wash.
It's looking tough.
Yeah, I like their whole staff, to my knowledge, I think is gone. Maybe it's Sever Foster. I don't know if they were keeping the OC. Even I haven't looked into UCLA. We're not a UCLA program or show here, so right. I'm going to guess that a lot of that staff left. When your head coach leaves, usually the staff leaves too.
Well, especially in the terms they did too. It wasn't necessarily a healthy exit. That relationship between Chip and the university and the turmoil of the fans even has been turbulent, to say the least, over the last couple of years. I think it was a long time coming. You just go to social media and check out the fan reaction quick, and they were really quick to want to get rid of Chip, which, hey, fine. You want someone who's going to be a little more active in recruiting and in the way with the NIL. But at the same time, if you don't have that foundation from, your boosters and such set and on the same page, it's really, really hard to accomplish the things you're going to want to accomplish.
It's gonna be an experiment. 2024 is, I think, just all right, dog. Stop stealing the show. Golden retrievers, damn it. 2024 is gonna be just it's not gonna be very good. I don't think it's gonna be pretty ugly. I think for UCLA, unfortunately.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of talent left in their locker room. They're not bringing in a lot of talent, clearly, as we can see. I think the last time I saw they were sitting in the 80s nationally recruiting, set right around the same point as like Colorado State. I think Nevada was right in there. Maybe Texas State. It was a pretty tough little group they were surrounded by. So
that's rough. I mean, if you're UCLA, you would at least like to be at least in the top 40s, I would think. If you want to like consider yourself to be competitive, I would say at least top 40s. If you're below that, like, ouch.
Well, I mean, especially we're talking about your first year in the Big Ten too. You don't want to go in there and lay an egg, but it looks like they're going to be absolutely slugging it out with Northwestern and Purdue and Illinois to see who's hanging out in the cellar this year.
Well, we will find out next year for sure, or as further updates of UCLA, because now we'll be keeping a little closer eye, because obviously that's a huge transition for all of them, especially with the Big Ten move. Something we don't have to worry about, though, is Dan Lanning and crew just continuing to kill everyone on the West Coast. USC and UCLA be damned. Dan Lanning don't care. As Dan Lanning once again picks up another commit for the 2020. Well, his first defensive commit, I believe it was, for the 2025 class. Now, in retrospect, I believe there's a 2026 commit who's reclassifying to join in 2025. But this is the first official actual 2025 commit in Matthew Johnson from De La Salle High for edge rusher, 6'5", 260. Already quite a specimen there. I don't know what his actual rating is or anything like that, but if he's from De La Salle,
right,
people were looking at him.
Yeah, I think his rating currently, the last time I saw, it was the 24/7 composite. He was sitting in the 360s, which, you're pretty quick right off the bat to dismiss it. I get it. People can say they don't look at ratings all they want. People look at ratings. Let's be real here. But he's definitely someone who's on the rise currently. Hasn't attended a whole lot of national camps, the Under Armour camps, the 24/7 camps, the Rivals camps, which we all know factor into your recruiting ranking very heavily. But yeah, I think, coming into this fall, he's going to have to put on a little more weight his senior year. You take a look at his tape, and one thing that really sticks out is how strong he is. Being 6'5", 260, he is able to play inside and outside, and he continuously is pushing, the offensive lineman back 3-4 yards, disrupting the pocket, creating the little uncomfortability in the quarterback situation there. But, he's someone I'm very curious about. Like you said, if you're coming out of De La Salle and you're the highest ranked recruit in that high school currently, they're a hotbed for recruiting talent over the last, 10, 15, 20 years. So it's an interesting one for sure. I don't think he's going to be the biggest splash that's going to be made on the defensive side of the ball by any significance, but he's someone who could end up being somebody for Oregon someday soon.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying day one he's going to walk it. Now, he still has another year to play, then an off-season training if he comes in early, in the wintertime or whatever. But the point is, Lanning just finished signing day, and he's still like, nah, we ain't done yet. We're looking at next year already. And grabbing guys, especially, again, like De La Salle, very highly recruited high school, very talented players coming out of it. And taking it right out of California from UCLA, USC. Once again, like USC, hey, you wanted to go to the Big Ten. Oh, Oregon came too, and guess what? Oregon's still taking your players.
I mean, he had some and for being ranked 360, if you really go look at it, the timeline of his recruitment, he's really someone who's gaining a lot of traction currently. So in the last couple of months, Texas A&M just offered him, like 2 weeks ago or so. Michigan's offered him, Miami's offered him, USC's offered him, Notre Dame's offered him. So it's like there's some big name programs who are garnering some interest. I mean, obviously we know it's not all the offers are created equal. They're not all takes for everybody. I understand that, but at the same time, like you're having some real high quality programs who are looking at this kid that tells you something about him.
And one thing, I mean, of course, look, it's the beginning of 2024, so very early in 2024. He's class of 2025. People always can change their minds. Teams see that all the time. One thing Oregon has not had to deal with, though, is a lot of people flipping from Oregon. Like when they commit to Oregon, they usually commit to Oregon. They don't end up leaving like a week beforehand or signing day flipping from Oregon. Like they stick with the commitment. That's kind of
the most notable one is Dante Moore is the most notable one, and take a look at what uniform he's wearing next year. It's like that's a very valid point.
He came back home. He realized, like, okay.
Yeah, he had to get out of that dumpster fire that is UCLA.
And I still think there was so many aspects to that of UCLA going to Big Ten. So he's like, maybe my NIL can go up. Of course, the Chip Kelly influence. Can't blame a kid for that. I think there was some other factors also went into it, but then saw the writing on the wall later and went, okay, maybe I was wrong. I wasn't ready to start. And kind of humbled himself a little bit as a player, which is hard to do when you're a quarterback, especially. You're supposed to be the guy that leads the charge and all that stuff. But I mean, we'll see. What is up with your caps lock, Mark? I can tell you're in shift, but
yeah, it was Kenny D gets all the credit. Yeah, I don't know. And Dan Lanning, he came on. He had an interview within the last week and a half or so with some of the Oregon radio guys, and he was talking about the significance of Dante Moore. And one thing he said that he's like, Dante's always been interested in Oregon. It's never not that he was never interested. I think there were some other factors pulling him the other direction. In my opinion, it was probably the opportunity to start right away. Obviously heading to the Big Ten, knowing that Oregon was going to be at the time stuck in the Pac-12 with that burning ship. But now, like you said, he gets the opportunity to go play in his home state of Michigan. He gets the opportunity to be in one of the 2 premier conferences in the nation. He gets the opportunity potentially next year to have the keys to one of the highest firing offenses in the country. So everything he wants is right in front of him.
Yeah, I do think the starting right away thing was a big one because, of course, he was going to sit behind Nix no matter what. But now coming here, knowing that he is going to sit behind Gabriel, I mean, I think that's pretty much. I don't even think that's up for debate. He's going to sit behind Gabriel, and he's already said that's fine. Like he's okay with that because he came after Gabriel committed, so he already knew he was going to sit behind him probably. So.
Yeah. And I mean, it's no secret. I think he understands that he needs some more development to turn into, if he wants to be a day 1 pick someday, he's going to need to develop. And I don't think UCLA and kind of the direction their program was heading was the place to do it. Like you said, I think it was 100% the aspect of 1, going to the Big Ten, and 2, you were able to start right away potentially. It would be a lot easier to beat out Ethan Garbers than it would be Bo Nix, who was coming back, and was already considered a round 3, round 4 pick last year. Obviously bumped his draft stock a little bit again this year. We saw what he was able to do.
Yeah, which we'll have to see where the draft stock goes because everyone, of course, has their opinions and et cetera, et cetera. And obviously that always falls the team needs. A team might really want him to go, well, we don't really need a quarterback. We need a tackle instead. I mean, so it's not like, oh, he's not good enough to be a first rounder. It's just team needs. I mean,
100%.
But yeah, it's just exciting to see Lanning and them and Lupoy especially and all them just still attacking hard, especially again high-profile schools that teams like USC, UCLA, and others are, like you listed Texas A&M and Notre Dame, are looking at, and Oregon's coming out on top. So watch out, Big Ten. Watch out.
Yeah, Dan, he's been hot in the recruiting trail, and I don't see that slowing down anytime soon.
Oh my God, 173 days. Why? Why would you say something so awful like that?
It's almost kind of depressing, isn't it?
I know. I think I saw that earlier, like actually on X or Twitter, whatever the hell people want to call it. It was like this and this many days till spring game. I was like, oh my God, it's so far away. It's terrible.
Yeah. It's such a long off season. That's the thing about college football. Like you literally get like 14 days a year, realistically, where you can like get up and get excited for college football. And that's it. It's a fast 14 days. And then after that, you got your 200 and whatever some days of just deadness aside from a spring game. And, there's a lot of people who they don't wrap themselves up in the spring game too, which I understand. But
I'm all in for the spring game, but I get why some people wouldn't, especially like for people like us, maybe, where it's like we wouldn't want to watch it because as soon as it's over, it's like, crap. Now we're back to nothing.
Right back to the reality of nothing in front of us.
Yeah, almost just ignore it because all you do is lose a few days of anticipation. That's it. Shut up, Sean. Shut up. I don't think I have that much material.
Oh man, just wait till the off-season issues start cracking. We'll get some material here before too long.
You know how long it takes me to plan for the After Dark show every week? Oh my God.
Only 30 more times.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I won't say it live because it's only like 10 minutes. But Mark, you didn't hear that. I always put the best effort forward in the most professional manners. That's all we do around here.
Day in and day right.
out. So I don't know if anyone's seen it too. I did not make a banner for this one. I should probably do that real quick. Derek, waste people's time while I make a banner real fast.
Whoa, what are the great people of the voice of college football? What are we looking at here? Everybody, spring game. See the spring game comment, I get that one. That's kind of how I was for a long time. Obviously just jumping on a couple different podcasts over the years. It's something I've had to pay a little more attention to, but I also understand why people don't watch it. Watching an inter squad scrimmage is it's not the most interesting thing in my eyes. I mean, I think it's interesting to see some of the schematics of it all, but at the same time, like you're watching a glorified practice, so it's really hard for myself still at this point to get excited for the spring game. But who knows? It's cool to see some of the newbies in a Duck jersey for the first time and kind of see what they're able to do. Yeah, our program is sinking now. This offensive analyst is gone. Dan's ready to leave us.
Just burn down Autzen.
That's what I'm saying, man. All of a sudden, we're fighting with Indiana for 15th in the Big Ten. It's going to be rough. Spring ball's exciting until it happens. Honestly, that's about exactly where my head's at. I think it's the concept of the spring game more than anything that I enjoy. But it's
then it happens, and then it's like depression.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, honestly, it's that, and it's like I said, it's a glorified practice. It's cool, and I love the idea of getting the fans, giving them a little taste early on in the year, especially in such a long off season. But it's tough to get excited for, in my opinion.
Well, because also you don't know in that spring game if you're seeing something that you actually will see in the season, or how generic it's going to be. I think this last year we did see. This last year I was a little worried because it was Stein's first season. I will say this: like I watched the spring game and the offense was like, and we saw some of the same problems from the spring game in the season, like some of the deep shots where they were a little off. So we did see that progress through the season, regardless, which was a little still concerning and should have been fixed. But the defense showed up in the spring game well, and that still showed up for the most part during the season. So that was also a good sign. So it's really hard to kind of feel out what to take away from the spring games.
See, and that's another point that I didn't even talk about yet. It's like, say you have a really low scoring spring game. Well, is your defense looking great or is your offense looking shitty? Or vice versa. You have a really high scoring spring game. Is it because you have a very explosive offense or is it because your defense is subpar? And it's like really trying to find that balance and understand that. For myself personally, it's like you see a long touchdown given up, and you're like, oh, sick, Tez Johnson just took it 80 yards to the house. And then you really think about it and you're like, wait, Jaleel Florence just gave up an 80-yard touchdown. So it's like, it's kind of that balance that I'm like, in my head, it's really tough to.
Well, and it was. And then this last year, we saw not a great offense, but a pretty, really, I would say, very close coverage stout defense in the spring game. Well, when the season came around, defense was not that stout, but a lot, very improved. Obviously, vastly improved statistically all around. And then the offense was still one of the best in Oregon's history, if not the best. So that said more about the defense in the spring game than the offense.
Which is fair. Yeah, obviously. Which is fair because that definitely translated. I mean, in my opinion, I don't know, some people might have a different opinion, but this was one of my favorite defensive years that we've seen in a while. The defense was fun to watch this year. So it translated, but like I said, it's finding that balance.
It's not overreacting to the spring game because again, we don't know what they're practicing against each other, so they already kind of have an idea of what's also happening.
And the playbook's vanilla for obvious reasons. I mean, you're having a bunch of true freshmen get some serious time in this game. You're not going to instill the full-fledged playbook,
You're not really blitzing,
No. And you're not seeing a bunch of crazy hits for, obvious reasons. There's some good and the bad. Like Captain here in the comments said Dylan Gabriel versus Dante Moore. That's probably the one I'm most excited to see. I'm just excited to see kind of how Dante Moore operates in a Will Stein offense, albeit in the spring game. Aside from that, there's a couple of defenders they brought in, like Cam Alexander, the UTSA transfer. I'm excited to see him in a Duck uniform. I'm excited to see how they use Brandon Johnson, the Duke transfer. I think they'll use him in the nickel a lot, but that'll be confirmed in the spring game. So there are some things. It's just I'm more excited to see the schematics of it all than the actual product, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because Muhammad and Alexander both were ranked number 1 and number 8, I think, in pass deflections this last year.
Yep. 1 and 5 in
5. Okay.
Incompletions forced this year. So it's like to bring in both of those as transfers, that's big time. And Cam Alexander, all conference guy, obviously Jabbar Muhammad, all conference guy. There's some cool transfers that I'm excited to see. This class is highly explosive on both ends of the ball. Evan Stewart, I'm excited to see Evan Stewart in Oregon offense, kind of see what his role looks like, how they decide to use him. So there are some things. Like I said, it's just you got to figure out how to take the good with the bad, and I don't think that's something I've figured out how to do yet.
Yeah, again, it's like it was said. It was like the anticipation of spring ball, and then it's over. It's like, oh, sad.
Yeah, and then you don't really start getting excited until early August. That's about when I really started digging into practice notes and stuff like that. But until that point, man,
until then, there's like almost no information, anyways.
Nothing. No, very little media access. During the months leading up to that point. So it's for obvious reasons. We don't get a lot as fans to that point.
Well, something all fans love to do, even 8.5 months too early, is ranked next year's top 25. And they have already released the way too early 2024 top 25. And Derek, where do you think Oregon ranks in that message?
If I were to guess, I'm going to guess somewhere between like 4 and 6. Where exactly, man? That is so hard to see. I'm gonna guess that they're gonna pop out at 5 to start the year. That's my projection. I mean, there's obviously a lot until we get to the point where we see the opening day rankings, but I don't know, man. It's hard to argue against them being a top 5 team to start the year.
Derek, you sell yourself so short. You were fine the first guess, and then you screwed it up.
I went right in the middle, man. Oh, yeah, you're right. I did sell myself short a little bit.
Yeah. You were right the first time. That's what's been put out, anyways. Obviously, I think weekly or every few weeks they're going to like readjust and play stuff. Right now, it's Georgia, Ohio State, Texas, Oregon, and Ole Miss.
Sure.
Which I obviously I understand why Georgia's there. Obviously,
deservedly so.
100%. Ohio State, fair,
Completely
especially now
understand.
bringing in Chip Kelly. Texas, Texas is the hard one because they're going to the SEC.
That's fair. You know, they've lost some key members, but also the recruiting class was strong. Their transfer class was strong. They returned their quarterback. They have QB depth. I mean, Arch Manning obviously is still sitting there. So I understand Texas too. It's like I can't really look at it and knock them. I'm not going to sit here and argue till my face is blue why we should be ahead of Texas. It's in my head right now. It's kind of one of these things going on. So yeah, that makes sense.
I don't think they have I don't think they necessarily have like the hardest SEC schedule or anything either. So that may be part of it. Then of course Oregon. And then, of course, Ole Miss. And I think Ole Miss, of course, is, Lane Kiffin staying. And obviously, I don't know about their schedule right off the top of my head, but they had a very successful year this last year. So the projection, especially with Bama, projecting to take, a good fall with now Ryan Grubb not going to Alabama, but going to the Seahawks instead. Which was LW, are you still in the chat? What do you feel that Ryan Grubb came to Alabama for like 2 days, was like, I'm here, and then like 2 days later was like, I'm gone, and went to the Seahawks.
I'm here to be your offensive coordinator. 48 hours later, turns around, the Seahawks hired Ryan Grubb, and I'm like, oh, all right.
It's like he was like waiting. They were taking too long. So he's like, well, I better take this while it's open. And then the Seahawks are like, oh, yeah, we want you. He's like, oh, sweet.
Fair enough.
That's got to be kind of rough. Especially for a team like Bama that has not had to deal with this type of thing. All of a sudden to be like, okay, we're cool. We got our coach, whatever number he was in their list. Oh, we're getting the OC too from that team? Cool. And then he leaves also. It's like, damn, like what the hell?
Yeah, it's I think this is the point where the embarrassment of riches Bama's had in both, player stock and the coaching carousel over the years. It's like it's starting to make itself apparent a little bit. I mean, this is not me saying Alabama is not going to be successful on the field, because I will never doubt Alabama. It's just the fact that they haven't really had to deal with something like this, So now at first they go through Saban retiring and trying to find their head coaching role. And sure, they slotted that one. And then, you get your OC. And like you said, that one dipped real quick. And that's not something we've seen out of Bama before. So I'll be interested to see what that team looks like come October, November.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those, it's just an oddity because no one's had to worry about that. Almost like with everyone that Nick Saban's picked, appointed, or whatever, has been, I'd say pretty successful.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them have been obviously quite home run hitters and stuff in their positions, but everyone's done really well. But then, so now this whole change is like, well, this is new. It's kind of like, welcome to the college football world once again, Alabama. Welcome
Welcome
back.
back to reality. Yeah, I know it's really fun for me personally to go on their Twitter and just kind of like look at their fans' reactions to some of this stuff because those diehard Bama fans, like, they crack me the hell up, man. It is so funny to read some of their stuff. Or like some of these message board pages that come, they'll post little screenshots of their message boards. These people are just losing their everlasting shit, and it makes me laugh so hard.
I wouldn't blame them because at the same time, just 4 or 5 weeks ago, whatever it was, Spaz, who's not here tonight, he's fired. He was literally like, I'm gonna jump off my roof, thinking Lanning might go to Bama. Regardless of what everyone says, like he was never offered the job, blah blah. I think that's really just a way of coping that Bama was like, he said no. I think it was just a way of them to cope by saying he was never offered the job. Honestly, I'm just gonna leave it at that. Fight me if you want. I don't care. Bring it. I don't give a shit.
The funny part about that is, it's probably been maybe a month or so ago. We were kind of talking about Dan Lanning leaving at some point, and we were having this little discussion on here. And we are like, I said to Spaz, ironically enough, the man who was freaking the hell out. I was like, I don't think he's going to go anywhere. I mean, we've had coaches before say we want to be at Oregon, followed by a bunch of bullshit that they gotta say. It just feels different when he says it. You know what I mean? He makes it very apparent that he wants to be here. And Spaz is like, oh no, the first time that job opens up, he's gone. Lo and behold, 2 weeks later, that job opens up, and look where we are. Spaz is ready to jump off his roof head first onto a pile of concrete, and we still have Dan as our
what
coach.
did I say? What did I say in the text?
Probably some about Spaz freaking the fuck out. Calm down.
I said, calm down, relax. Let's see what happens tomorrow.
Well, you know how it is. Oregon goes down 3-0, and Spaz is ready to throw a pitchfork through someone's house. So it was only fitting that at the first mention of Dan Lanning, he was ready to just burn the whole city of Eugene down to the ground.
Yeah, of course he was. But yeah, we don't have to worry about that. We know what's happening. Oregon is in a good space. We are calm and relaxed. But Alabama, welcome back to the rigors of college football. Welcome back.
Nice to be back to reality, huh? See what these other fan bases like us have to deal with. It's nice that some of these top tier programs have to deal with it once in a while too.
Yeah, I mean, once again, Mark posted on Twitter, X, whatever. Like, what's the first team since except for Michigan, what's the last team that won a national title and lost their head coach? And even he was like, it took me 5 minutes to find the answer. Even him, it took him that long to go. I have no idea. I didn't look. I just saw his post, and even he was like, I had no idea. Even he had to look. I'm gonna guess it was like from the 50s or something, like way back when someone won a national title and then went like retired or went pro or something. Something like that. I'm gonna guess.
Yeah, it's Michigan fans. You got one of two things that are happening. You have a solid portion of Michigan fans who are like, they're grounded in reality. They're like, hey, we just won the national championship. Like, everything's gonna be okay. And then you have this other half who Spaz would be in, and it's like somebody shot their dog right in front of their face. They're ready to burn Jim Harbaugh's new house down, and X, Y, and Z. It's absolutely wild.
I'm gonna look this up. I'm gonna find that post really, really fast because that's it. Tom Osborne is a good one. Dennis Erickson, Jimmy John.
Yeah, I think Jimmy would have been my guess. Just for obvious reasons, but it's
Schellenberger. Yeah. That's a good one too. Actually, that's why I was like, I didn't look, and I probably should have. I just kind of thought about that off the top of my head that he had the. Where's that tweet from Mark earlier?
yeah.
Where is it?
Mark's putting out so much content these days. Hard to find his tweet.
That was not even. It wasn't even that long ago. So, oh, there it is. Okay, some people said Osborne, and he's like, "Well done. How about before him?"
Okay, so Osborne was the latest.
Well, no, he said. And then he said, "How about before him?" And no one answered. So I don't know if we ever got the answer then. Then someone did say Schellenberger. It's an interesting one. I'm gonna have to follow with Mark on that and see if there's an actual answer, because he hadn't actually said that was it. He just like, well done. How about before him? Like, who was it? But I guess it was Tom Osborne then, the last one.
Okay.
I guess is the answer. I hate Twitter.
Yeah. I'm cool. I'm cool with the trade-off. If Dan's able to bring us our first national championship, but the pay to the devil is he has to leave the year afterward, I think I'm taking it. Like, the goal is to win the national championship. You know what I mean?
Yeah, go out on a high note, right? I mean, can you blame Harbaugh? He's like, hey, I came to make Michigan relevant, win the national title. He did. He got what he wanted in the NFL searches, and he was like, all right, cool.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I get both sides of the coin. In my hypothetical situation, Dan wins and then he leaves. I'm still going to be mad that he left. Like, there's no denying. That's just because I love the man. I love Dan. I wish he would stick around for eternity. But at the very same instance, like you said, you can't really blame him at the same time. And that's kind of also something that would make me mad, I guess. I'd want to be more mad. But
yeah, I mean, I was not pissed when Chip left. I was sad, but I was like, well, he took an NFL coaching job. I mean, you can't blame someone from going successful college coach, NFL coach. Because for a lot of people, that's the dream. Now, not everyone has different aspirations or hopes, dreams, and outlooks and stuff. Maybe Lanny is just like, you know what? And he has said it. So, I mean, I'm not doubting his word. He has said it. He's like, I'll be here as long as Oregon and the community want me here, or will have me, rather, or something along those lines. So, I mean, if he were to win one, maybe even two titles over, say, 10 years, and he's like, you still want me here? And we're like, yeah. He's like, I'll stay then. I mean, so be it. If he's being successful, I mean, yeah, he could be the next, Mike Bellotti or Rich Brooks.
I know it's getting so rare nowadays to see those coaches. The Sabans to Alabama is rare. The Kirby Smart, the continued success sticking with Georgia, it's rare. But if there's one man who could look into this camera and convince me that he wants to be here, it's Dan.
Oh, you son of a bitch, Tony! Why? Why would you do this? Now you just brought up a whole new topic. I have to write this down and mark notes for. Imagine if Chip would never have left Oregon. Ooh. That's a. If Chip never left Oregon. I'm writing this down. Son of a bitch. Damn it, Tony. He's making me work and shit. That is an interesting topic, though, because I mean, you think, what would have Chip done with Mariota in his second year or third year?
The third year is the interesting one.
Also, because would have Aliotti stayed on staff in his third year? I mean, Mariota's third year, because he retired after the first year of Helfrich because Aliotti did not get the Oregon job. He wanted to be the head coach, but they gave it to Helfrich, so Aliotti retired. So if Aliotti stayed on, what could have happened that year? That's it. I mean, that's a damn interesting question.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe we'd be looking at a different story in the second Natty appearance. Who knows? I don't know, the whole coaching staff though. That's a really good point. It's not even just Chip at that point. It's like how does that domino effect, continue to affect the coaching staff that kind of proceeded the next 2-3 years after Chip left.
Yeah, because I mean, Chip leaves, Ali, like specifically like Aliotti stays on. Then Aliotti retires because he's like, well, I wanted to be the head coach. They didn't give it to me. Yada yada. Aliotti then goes out and talks to other teams about how to defend the spread. Which, I mean, he has all the right to do. That's nothing bad on Aliotti. I mean, obviously, even Nick Saban called him and was like, dude, what the fuck? How do I defend this shit? Of course. But yeah, but think about that. If Aliotti stayed on, as well as exactly all the rest of the staff members, Pelham was still the linebacker coach. Pelham was the linebacker coach, right?
I think so.
If I recall correctly, before he became DC. We would never have had the Hoke experience. That wasn't a joke. That was the Hoke experience. That wasn't a joke. I mean, it was a joke, but
the Hoke experience, trying to leap at Willie Taggart real quick. It's just the domino effect that kind of took place in the years following, man, was absolutely wild.
But this is a great point by GWG here. Chip Kelly did leave, also in good reason, because he did get the no-show cause or whatever for 18 months or whatever it was. So
that's valid. That's something I forgot about.
I forgot about that too briefly. So technically he couldn't. Now that's not to say he couldn't have stayed. The university would have just said, this is why we're keeping him on and retaining him, and maybe taking a slight penalty, because they took the no-show calls on Chip Kelly. And then I think like 2 or 3 scholarships for a couple of years, something like that, if I recall correctly. Something, pretty minor. Mostly it was on Chip, even though it was self-reported stuff. But the university could still say, well, we want to keep him on because this. And the NCAA could still approve it to let him stay. Now, maybe there would have been scholarship reductions a little more because of that, but they still could have allowed him to. Any school could have hired him during that point. They just had to give a reason why.
Yeah, well, he knew what he was doing, though. When he dipped out, there was a very strategic exit point. At that point, it felt like, Chip was getting sanctioned. The university was getting sanctioned. You start to pull scholarships. It's a really finicky road. I think at that point, it was probably best just for both parties to mutually part ways in kind of a more elegant way of doing it. Chip gets to elevate his job. Oregon kind of settle some of the dust that was being flung up at the point. It worked out to a degree. Because of the success that happened in 2013.
Yeah, in 2014, and so it's still in the end worked out. We saw a few years of working things out, trial and errors after that. So it's not like it was a total minus. We'll ignore 2016 ever happened. We're going to ignore that year. That never happened. People, relax. Not going to discuss that year at all. Outside of the emergence of Justin Herbert. That was the only good thing that happened that year. And Derek's favorite player, Pruka.
Dakota, the Montana State legend.
Oh, my God. I thought, hey, maybe we had another gem. And I remember, what was the first game? Was like Virginia, or the second game or something? I was like, dude, we look like trash. I think they let off with
Virginia that year. Yeah,
I was like, we look like trash.
By Virginia. Oh yeah, honestly, I was kind of with you though. The Dakota Prukop, they brought him in, and I was like, okay, but he can move a little bit. His arm talents. He had some arm talent. Don't get me wrong.
We're not going to compare him to like Vernon Adams, but okay, he'll be serviceable. No. I wonder what he's doing now.
Selling car insurance.
Wow, you are a heartless bitch.
Oh, I'm being dead ass serious. I'm pretty sure he's an insurance salesman.
Oh, okay. Well, good for him. Good for him.
Oh God, yeah, that guy. I thank him for his 2 victories he took a part of that year. Trash.
Well, and in all fairness, too, he should have won the Nebraska game. That was Helfrich's fault. They lost that game.
Yo, ironically enough, 16 hours ago, we have an update on Dakota Prukop.
Oh, God.
The BC Lions in the Canadian Football League signed him as a backup quarterback 16 hours
shit.
ago. So my boy is balling.
No shit. Good.
No
Well,
shit,
good.
swear to God.
Hey, good for him. I mean, he's following his dreams. Good for him. Good for him.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, here I'm looking at it. The reason I thought he was going to be a stellar, he was an FCS All-American the year before he transferred. So he was lighting it up in the FCS, and then he got very much lit up at the FBS level.
Yeah, but now he's in the CFL. Apparently, at least as a backup. Hey, good for him. Good for him. That's it. Hey, again, being a backup quarterback, no matter what level, there's got to be the sweetest gig if you're getting paid. To literally do nothing and get paid. I know the CFL's not paying like the NFL does, but still, I'm sure he's making a couple $100,000 a year.
Oh,
to just sit there and do nothing. The CFL legend. Maybe he won't be Mazzoli CFL legend. Now Mazzoli is tearing it up.
Vernon Adams, yeah, he's still balling up there. I think is he in Montreal currently? The Alouettes.
That's not nice, like, Tony. That's not nice. That was shit. We just said his name the other day.
I'm looking it up as we speak. Jeff Lockie.
Lockie, yeah.
Oh, let's see. Oh, and fun fact, Jeff Lockie is selling insurance. No joke.
Oh, so he's selling insurance. Okay. I know.
Oh, I know. Out of LA. Maybe I'll go see him. He's up the road.
I know John. Oh, if you can get Jeff Lockie on the show, we'll take him on the show.
I don't to this day I'm bitter. I am so bitter, man.
That was more of a Helfrich problem, and that defense just collapsed.
It was everything, man. It's Mark. Helfrich could have not done shit and just given the whole keys to Jeff Lockie. And you blow a 31-point lead, man. Get the hell out of here. I don't know. That's unreal.
Oh, well, that was also that was not Scott Frost. That was what's his name? He went to Ole Miss after that, I think, or Mississippi State for a year. Who was calling plays in that game? Chat, help me out. Scott Frost just had left, and it was the other guy. He was the wide receiver coach after Scott Frost, and that was his first game as OC.
Tony, where you at? Tony's always got the quick answers.
I have it. I can.
There it is. What I tell you, that man.
Lubick, yeah. Lubick, yeah. There we go. No, that was a disaster. Man. Joe Moorhead, get the hell out of here. Joe Moorhead did great work.
Yeah, I would argue Joe Moorhead did work.
He did work. Cristobal just kind of screwed him.
Yeah.
This is Oregon's former criminal.
Hey, man.
Hey, if we get Jeremiah Mazzoli on here, you better watch your mouths. All right.
Say what you will, man. I thought he was such a baller, dude. I was a big fan. Aside from, the obvious. I was a big fan on the field. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. One of his best plays still was always trucking that Oklahoma State DB in their bowl game. Just running that guy over for a touchdown. The guy just stood up like, what the hell just happened?
I think of the play where he trucked the Oregon State defensive back to go to the Rose Bowl. It was like a 4th and 2, 4th and 3, something like that. Just lit him up.
That too. Yeah, he didn't care. He laid it out there.
Oh yeah, he was a great player for the Ducks. It's just he had some other problems to worry about.
But he seems to have corrected himself, and he made himself a legacy in the CFL and everything, and good for him. I mean, he did more than some other quarterbacks who didn't have legal issues,
Like, I don't know, a certain one selling insurance in LA right now.
Hey,
Just saying.
I believe John Boyette is selling insurance too. I think
Okay, but
Jeff Mill is an insurance salesman too now.
okay, maybe it's not so much about what they're selling. It's more about who's doing the selling. And that man, Jeff Lockie. I bet you Alejandro Maldonado is probably selling insurance somewhere too.
Well, he's not kicking anything. Let's put it
Nah,
that way.
he ain't. He wasn't kicking shit when he was with the Ducks.
All right. This is an Oregon show. We're not here to trash all the players.
Respectfully.
We'll get one of them to come on the show. They'll be like, so a few months ago, you guys were talking mad shit about me.
They're gonna be like, "Fuck that guy."
Like, way to like eliminate half of the potential cast of 4 players we could get to come on the show.
Oh,
wow, this is what happens with Spaz in here. We just start trashing former players.
Oh, you know, Spaz would be right on here. We bring up Alejandro Maldonado's name, and Spaz is ready to roll. He loves the trash kickers. Spaz likes to trash our all-time leading scorer.
That is true, and that is the Sir Camden Lewis. I have to put Sir before Camden sounds so royal.
Well, it's like our new kicker, Atticus Sappington. That sounds straight up like he come out of Parliament.
God, that's gonna take me a while to get that correct. Every time I try to say that, I'm gonna screw that up.
Sappington. I look forward to it.
Why are we still here? Like, why are we still here? I have no idea. We just went off the rails there for a little bit there. With the Chip Kelly talk to like trashing players and yeah. Anyways. Well, hey, Derek, tell people once again where they can stalk you online if they so choose to, and then we're gonna have our final poll debate, as mentioned. I didn't forget about it, as well as the update for next week's show. So once again, where can they stalk you if they so choose to?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can check me out right here on Twitter at High Top Oregon. If you're interested, you know, I host my own show on a few nights a week too. So you can find me on YouTube at High Top Sports Oregon as well. Dig into a lot of the same stuff, just a slightly different format. So if you're interested in staying plugged in with the Ducks, I encourage you to check that page out. If you're more of a Twitter guy like myself, absolutely follow me there. I like to keep the happenings posted for all the fans up there. As always, you know, appreciate the support.
I like how you just ended, and I'm like, oh, he's done. Shit. Yeah, all of our links are down here below. But we have an important question for the chat, and we need your contribution because this is Derek's idea. This is not mine. So, once again, I have to make a banner quickly because I don't think about this stuff ahead of time because Derek screwed me on this idea.
Well, first off, we got to preface this by saying, since it's been so long, I don't even know if the people in the chat are going to know who we're talking about.
Oh, I was like, wow.
Oh, yeah. Also,
what happened? Nah,
my boy Yelly, he says, thanks for tuning in.
So, for those in the chat, exactly what we're talking about here is we started the season with 4 people. Myself, once again, then bringing on Derek here, Spaz, as people know, who's not here tonight, just he has other obligations. And we had another certain co-host, in Sean. I'll be honest, I haven't heard from Sean in 4 weeks, I don't think.
Yeah,
does that sound about right?
The chat's been quiet on his end. Yeah, man. I heard he was working one Tuesday night and he was gonna miss a show, and all of a sudden we haven't heard from him anymore. So we have a couple theories.
So,
I'm kind of curious what the chat has to say.
Exactly. So our question is to the chat: what happened to Sean? What do you think happened to him? We have not heard from him on text, even on text message, in like literally 4 weeks. What do you think happened to him? I can't wait.
I'll submit mine. I think, he was likely abducted by aliens. They're probably probing him as we speak. So we hope they give him back down. If not, man, it's R.I.P. to Sean. It was a nice run.
Nice try, Tony. He did have a new job scheduled, but it was more convenient for Wednesday. The point is we haven't heard from him. Now we're getting into some good comments. Now we're getting into some good ones. And a couple of these are good ones. Kidnapped by Antifa. Maybe. It's possible. He's pretty white. He is pretty white. The transfer. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, right. He submitted his papers and he dipped on us. He didn't have the decency to tell us goodbye.
Yeah, we never even got notification of it. Like, Jesus. Rude. Fish. Random,
I heard they need
but I
the
like
offensive
it.
line coach.
Yeah, random, but I like it. Too many dabs.
He's still baked on his couch. Him and Spaz cuddled up together.
Oh, God.
Oh, working at the
Texas boy.
Hey,
well, he does live in Texas, so
that might be the most realistic one at this point.
But again, no, we literally have not had a text from him in like 4 weeks. It's like it's really weird. We're just like, where is he? Even these guys this week have not said anything to me all week, and I'm like, hey, what the hell, guys?
Well, yeah, great. For the people who, just to give them a little context, our group chat, it's quiet. Typically, somebody will say a couple things in here. Spaz says some stupid shit every once in a while. But yeah, Sean's gone dark mode, man. He just disappeared on us. Spaz, yes, R.I.P. He is officially transferred to Fuqua. Spaz is a Bruin at heart. We all know it.
Jesus. Well, there was other news about that stuff today, but I didn't get to look into it with the Pac-2 separating or Pac-12 entirely, I guess, as it stands still, separating from Klyakov. But obviously, with the conference collapsing, you don't need a commissioner. So, obviously.
Hey, maybe Sean applied for that role. The Pac-2 is going to need a commission,
That's true.
Yeah, anybody can apply for that shit, I'm sure. When you got a Mountain West schedule and 2 people in your conference, why the hell not?
I mean, it can't be that difficult.
That's what I'm saying. You roll out of bed, send a few text messages, call her a day. Sounds easy.
Have like a 9 a.m. meeting with 2 presidents and ADs and be like, how's it going today? All right, cool. I'll talk to you Thursday.
Yeah.
That's it.
Talk about your one conference matchup a year.
You have like 2 press conference once a week, maybe.
Yeah, if we're lucky. That's got to be the most glorious job in all of college football.
That fucking that has to be. It's gotta be one of the sweetest gigs. All right. Anyways. Sean's dead. We knew this. That wrapped the segment up for my short there.
We got some good feedback though.
That is true. Yeah, actually, got some better ones than I thought we were gonna get. I wasn't sure what we were gonna get with that. That's why I was like, let's see what happens.
I love it.
Abducted by Antifa. Jesus. All right. Anyways, everyone, thank you for joining in as usual on the Oregon Ducks live show right here on the Voice of College Football Oregon channel. Every Tuesday or Wednesday, 9 p.m. Central Time, right here on the channel. It's actually supposed to be 9:15, but I didn't want to edit it. I'm tired of editing tonight, and I'm sick of doing these tabs. I'm very professional. But do join us next week, Tuesday. It will be Tuesday, unless somebody falls through. And if it does, I'm blaming the guest. Because next week, we will have a special guest of where is that damn tab? There it is. Next week, we'll have the Quack 12 podcast guys on here. So make sure, if you have never seen their show before, I've been watching them since the 2023 season. 2022, sorry, season. Quack 12 podcast on Twitter. And then there's their YouTube link at Quack1258. Check them out on YouTube. Watch some of their videos. They will be here live with us next Tuesday night to talk all things Oregon Ducks. And then hopefully we'll have another update for the following week for another guest. Hopefully. Obviously, we're just waiting for some responses to line up some guests for you guys. So that's all I got. Do you have anything else, Derek?
Not at all, man. That's I think we got everything off our chest for the night.
Thank God. Everyone, hit that like button, please. If you haven't, consider subscribing, share it out, help spread the channel out a little bit, helps us grow, get some new people in here, new insight. But everyone here, of course, all the usuals, Tony, GWG, Mark, all we do is win. The Michigan fans, all those people. No trolls tonight, at least. Sean, Raymond, John, Antoine. Antoine. I think I'm mispronouncing that shit. I know. Captain Hills, of course. Everyone, thank you for being here. And join us next week again with the Quack 12 podcast right here from YouTube. And other than that, all we have to say is until next week, good night. Quack.